So I am a plant manager for a blown film manufacturer. We have over 100 employees and I'm responsible for 80% of them. So that is challenging, managing different personalities.
Hello, welcome to the Job Dictionary podcast. Today, I'll be interviewing Erica Kucera, who's a plant manager at Houston Polybag. Just to get us started, Erica, in your own words, what do you do?
So I am a plant manager for a blown film manufacturer. A quick synopsis of that is I manage blown film extrusion lines, what is being produced, as well as the people that are working to produce product.
Awesome. And where are you located?
In Tomball, Texas.
That's awesome. And lastly, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Like a really little kid, I wanted to be Hercules.
Oh,
a nurse. After
okay.
that,
Well, plant manager is a little different than Hercules and a nurse, but that's still awesome to talk with you today. Just getting past those icebreakers, can you just tell me how long you've been working in the plastics industry as a plant manager?
I have been working for 7 years now.
Yeah.
I started in January 2017.
Cool. How was that initial start in the learning curve of like jumping into that role?
Well, I actually started here as a regulatory officer.
Mhm.
I started, my role was to create what is called a food safety initiative program. The whole title would be Food Safety System Certificate, and it's 22,000. But I started to get Houston Polybag was out of compliance for a lot of their customers. The customer base was requiring us to be food certified. So it's like a ISO program, and which an ISO program is a management system. And so it incorporated a management system with a food safety certificate as well. So I started there and I did that for about a year and a half.
Okay. And then kind of just going back, what made you want to get into this field and how did you get your start?
Mine is a little non-traditional. I actually was in the process of getting my teaching certificate, and I wanted to be a high school soccer coach and teach kids biology. I was a biology major in college, and while I was going through that process, this job was presented to me, and I took it. Was not expecting it at all.
Yeah, some things kind of end up working out like that.
Yeah.
Was it different than what you thought it was going to be when you first started?
Yeah, it was more involved than I really thought it would be. There's a lot that goes into a daily operation of a manufacturing facility that I didn't know about. So my role that I started in really helped me become a plant manager because I had to literally learn all parts of the business, from not just out in the plant, but how the office operates. Because I had to write a program for every department of the company. So it really kind of gave me a big picture. It taught me the big picture of the ins and outs of operations.
What was your first role at that company?
It was the title is regulatory officer.
Okay.
So that was my first job title here.
Okay. And then as a plant manager, what are some degrees, certificates, or other things that like are required to get this job?
I would definitely say minimum would be a bachelor's degree. I know I've met some plant managers that have a master's in polymer science, and I wouldn't say that's necessary. I think the best way for you to be successful is experience in the industry. So starting in the plastics industry and just getting familiar with terminology and what plastic is, because it's not just a grocery bag. A lot of people
Right.
kind of think, oh, you make grocery bags. I'm like, actually, we don't make a grocery bag at all. So I think just experience, and then, some form of education, basic math, science
Right.
skills, critical thinking, that kind of thing.
Can you kind of further expand on what Houston Polybag actually makes that isn't just a grocery bag?
Yeah, so we try to give you the short version, but we make polyethylene based films, which is polyethylene linear low density films. So we're a custom manufacturer. So customers come to us and tell us what their needs are, and we try to match that. So that can be anywhere from a Gaylord liner, which is a big cardboard or bin liner in the food industry. We do a lot of B2B operations. So, like, you'll see our product, we're not retail. We're kind of
Right.
in so we make a lot of custom items. We've started venturing into the biopolymer world with sustainability, because that's a big hot topic these days, and we've been ahead of the curve. We actually started that in 2019. So we do, as a trash bag company, we only made trash bags, and that's how we started in 1979. And in the early 90s, the company was taken in a different direction, and we listened to what the customers wanted and let the customers drive our business, and that's how we got to where we are today.
That's a really interesting like business model. How do you think that like shaped your work, and do you like that flexibility and kind of always prioritizing the customer?
Yeah, it's can be difficult, because while, like, I would say our motto is, customer satisfaction, we wish to meet customer demands, but with that you still have to manage expectations, because at the end of the
Right.
day, we are a manufacturing company. You don't just push a button to make the product. It's very there's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle. And with that,
Mhm.
if you tell a customer, hey, this is in the schedule, it's going to start running, they're like, okay, so you can ship it now. No, it takes, one run for a customer could be 4 days. It's not
Right.
instantaneous. So it can be challenging to kind of uh, communicate to customers from the manufacturing side, like, we're working with you, but some things can come up, and kind of manage their expectations.
Right. And I guess like kind of going through a specific day, like the specific task, and what do you spend the majority of your day doing?
Checking in all the departments, checking on production orders, how the lines have been running, where we're at in the schedule, checking inventory. Do I have enough product to run what we need to run? And then, checking in with customer needs, the salesman and customer needs. It's a lot of follow up from pretty much every aspect of the business.
How does that look, being able to like manage all aspects of the plant? They basically go through you before they go outwards to the customer.
Yeah, so I would say how it operates is, customers will place orders, and someone will process, customer service will process those orders, and they get to my desk. And then I have a schedule. So I'll put, kind of match up like items, see when we're going to run a group of like items together. Cause like I said, we are custom. So to make us more efficient and more profitable, you want to run similar items and group runs together. You don't just want to take 5 different items and run 5 different items in a day. So I set the schedule for the lines and give the orders to our foreman, and our foremen are responsible for carrying out those orders. But I check in with them. Okay, how are our rates? We have all the inventory. Have you found everything? Do you have the right people in place to run the order? Do you understand what you're looking for and how to set this up?
Yeah, that's very intricate. And
I'm trying not to be too detailed, but
no,
detailed
in a
enough to
good
where you
way.
understand it.
Yeah, no, like actually that's a lot of things to manage. And yeah, moving forward, what parts of your job are the most exciting and interesting to you?
Trialing new products. So we
Okay.
are custom. So you do see a lot of, we're not just running the same thing over and over again. So when a customer is having an issue with either an existing product or they're venturing into a new field, it's exciting to figure out something new.
Yeah. Always problem solving is a lot of what you do, I'm guessing,
Yeah,
day to
it's a
day.
lot of group collaboration.
Okay.
It's it's not just, hey, this is what we're going to do. It's let me get my engineer involved. Let me get my assistant plant manager who was a foreman out in the back for 20 years. Like,
Right.
let's all work together from different angles to come up with a solution together.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess kind of going off of that, what parts of your job are hard, both emotionally challenging and like actually hard in your day-to-day work schedule?
I would say probably the number one for me is managing people. We have over 100 employees, and I'm responsible for 80% of them. So that is challenging, managing different personalities, and it can be exhausting because some days everything's great and other days it's just issue after issue.
Gotta be a problem solver, I'm guessing, and be quick to respond.
Yeah, and with that, you have to have some patience involved too. You have to listen to the problem and not just jump to and be like, well, this is what we're doing no matter what you say. It's okay, let me
Right.
hear your side of things. So it's where some days you just want to be like, just do this. You
Right.
can't, that's not how you want to lead. So
Yeah.
managing people, because I'm not always the most patient person, so it requires a lot of patience.
Can you also kind of hit on some boring aspects of your job?
Yeah. What would be the most boring? I
You
would
can do a boring
say
one.
like the inventorying and the purchasing for me, because you think it should be there and you just want your inventories there, but
Right.
taking time out of your day to put orders necessary, to do the double checks that inventory was counted correctly. And we've been around a long time. We don't have all the newest technology. So for our inventory system, we physically count one by one. There's no barcoding system.
Wow.
So that's boring to sit there and
I
count.
can see that. Oh, wow.
Love a warehouse management system, like a
Okay.
barcoding. That's better. Those are the
Next level.
goals. Yeah.
Make that a little less boring.
Yeah.
We're gonna kind of go into some rapid fire questions
Okay.
about a day in the life of Erica.
Okay.
Could you just kind of elaborate about your wake up time, start time, any breaks that you take throughout the day?
So, I mean, being a plant manager, you're 24 hours, but basically 6 a.m. to I wake up, work 8 to 5, and you know the schedule that you've created, so you can kind of manage your breaks around that.
So it's pretty flexible
It's
around yourself, or
Yeah, you get to a point where you can be flexible. As
okay.
long as you know the schedule and you know that you don't need to, a super important order that you need to be there to, okay, doesn't start till 10. Well, you're good till 10, but if you're scheduling one to start at 10 p.m., well, you have to come in at 10 p.m. So
Right.
you have flexibility. I would say for 85% of the time, it's 8 to 5.
Would you say that your job is more slow or fast paced?
Very fast paced.
What do you wear in the plant versus the office?
You dress for comfort, so to be on your toes, feet all day. You know, closed-toed shoes. In the summer months, it's not air conditioned, so it gets to 100 plus out there. So golf skin shirts are very much appropriate in a manufacturing plant.
And then I guess how much, you kind of already hit on this, but how much is spent like by yourself versus in collaborations and working with people?
I'd say about 85% of the time I'm in group collaborations, whether that's with the guys out in the or with customers, sales team, that kind of thing.
What part of the year is the most busy?
Quarter 4.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So Quarter 4 is everyone's back in school and back in school trying to get orders placed before I would say the end of Quarter 3 and then the beginning of Quarter 4. They're trying to get orders in before Christmas, Thanksgiving, and before the holidays, those final last minute orders. And then we're very big in the insulation film business as well as horse shavings. So the winter months are very heavy in insulation and horse shavings. And those are some of our largest customers, not our largest. They're not the largest, but that's a good majority of our business. And that we have to run heavy during those months.
What do you think is the slowest month?
I would say July, around July 4th. Everyone kind of takes July off.
They have all the bags that they need.
Yeah, it was, everything has been ordered and everyone kind of takes a lull July and then it ramps back up in August. It kind of goes with the school season a little bit.
Okay, that's interesting. You wouldn't think that plastics and school had anything to do with each other, but yeah.
You would not, but it is here around July 4th. You're like,
and I see right now you're in the office, but what is the flexibility of like working remotely or hybrid for people in your position or at other companies, do you think?
I'd be interested to see what other companies said, but from our standpoint, it's work in office. There is, if you have some meetings back to back, you could take them from home, but it's an in-office job
because you have to manage the plant and make sure that you're foreman. Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, your main responsibility is managing the operations out in the plant. So to do that, you have to be here. You have to be there, and not necessarily that you are the best. Like it's not that. It's just making sure that they have everything they need. You have to check yourself. Like you have to make sure that you've provided them everything that they need to run correctly.
That is very helpful. And then lastly, for the rapid fire, what tools or technologies do you use as a part of your job?
Basic computer skills, Excel, Word, that kind of thing. So we have a software for creating the production work orders that we produce off of. And then to check the product, we have what's called a micrometer. And that checks the thickness of the film, which is the pretty important part in our gauges, gauges if we're running correctly. And then measuring tape would probably be the main tools I use on a day-to-day basis.
Got it. And so kind of veering back into the professional side, what do people underestimate about this profession, you think?
I had a really good answer. What do they underestimate? I think they underestimate how many people you talk to on a regular basis. Until you actually see what someone does, it is, when I say fast paced, it is like you get out of one thing and you're on to the next. And if you didn't take care of that, you better figure it out later because you're on to the next. It's you got to be on your A game all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And then what do you think people overestimate about this profession?
I think from an outsider, they might see the glamour in, oh, you get to set the schedule so you can, do what you want, or, you're kind of making the rules of, the facility out back. And
right.
That's not really the case. There's a lot of parts that go into it. And, if you're a plant manager, you have to pick up the phone at 2 a.m. You get a phone call, you better answer. Like, it's
because Houston Polybag, I know specifically, is a 24/7 plant that only
yeah.
shuts down for like 3 days over Christmas, but that's for pretty much all plants too, right?
Yeah. I mean, some plants are structured differently. So if you're not working for a 24/7 operation, then, you don't have to pick up the phone at nights. So but, if you're 8 to 5, I couldn't imagine a plant manager having flexibility. Like, you better be
Right.
there from 8 to 5, and you probably don't get much of a lunch break. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yes, you have some flexibility, but you have to be grounded and know that just because technically I could skip out to lunch doesn't mean that's what you should do.
Right. And then I guess, what do you think is the fastest way to get into this profession if someone with a non-traditional background wanted to get their foot into the door?
I would say boots on the ground experience. So anything within the plastics industry would be the way to get in the door. So, and especially in Houston Poly specifically, we lost a lot of talent. We had, people that worked here for 30 to 40 years, and we lost that experience and that knowledge of operating machinery, how plastics react when you with temperatures and sealing. And there's a lot of value and experience and just time in the industry. So
I guess
regardless if that's a customer service job in plastics,
right.
like, it's just getting familiar with the terminology and getting some way a foot in the door with plastic. It might not even be manufacturing. Maybe you're with a distributor and selling plastic bags. I would just, any way to have that knowledge is
right.
really, really valued.
So I guess in like more general terms, if someone wanted to be a plant manager, kind of get your foot on the ground in the industry that you want to work in. And
Yeah,
I would okay.
Any way to get your foot into the industry, no matter how you get into the industry.
And then I guess, what other people coming from to get into this profession, do you think? Or is it random? Are there themes? Do you know?
I think it's plastics kind of goes hand in hand with the oil and gas industry.
Right.
So I think if you're in the oil and gas, because I mean, those kind of go hand in hand with each other. Resin is made from reactors. So that's probably where a lot of people are coming from. They're coming from that side. And then I think it's just random. Like, we've hired a lot of people from the school district.
Yeah.
So that's I would say that's random.
So you'll look a little bit more, personally for Houston Poly, you'll look a little bit more at like who they are as a person when you're hiring, and like certain character.
I do. I like if you have a good attitude and work ethic and kind of a little experience in any work field to back it up, you can learn it. But we give a chance. But we have some training you can't just go out there and figure it out. There's some training.
Can you kind of elaborate on that training and what that looks like, how long it takes?
Yeah, so I guess a good example would be our quality control. One of her, we just had a conversation, and she started as a bag packer. She came in and, didn't know anything about this. And that training process, we start out with, she's literally shadowing somebody and, getting the basic safety trainings. And then learning how to check a bag, check product, and package it. And now she's quality control, and she's been here 2 years. And so she's like, I still feel like I don't know everything and how to check. I feel like I'm just learning something new every day. And so it's patience. There are manuals, but nothing as good as on the job experience.
Right. Can you kind of hit on what does someone have to be good at and like doing to be good for a plant manager role?
I would say leadership has to come naturally. That's something that would be your number one quality. And then from that, critical thinking, problem solving, leadership, I think, is a broad term because it covers, willingness to work with others, being able to manage, you know, employees, because some of the things that you're going to ask your employees to do, you don't even want to do them. And
Right.
I mean, standing out on a line in 100 it's 100 degrees in Texas. I mean, I don't want to do that, but we do it, so being able to lead them and show them value in what they're doing is really, really important. And if you don't have a good leadership quality, it's going to be very hard to get employees to get you the result that you want.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's all about building the team that you're on. Can you kind of hit on like certain aspects you look for when you're building a team, or how you like to manage your teams and how that looks?
Yeah, so I look for people that are willing to work with others.
Right.
I think we kind of were in a good old boy industry for a while, and it's changing, but the industry was very much like, no, this is how we do it, so we're going to do it this way. And with us being custom, we had to go away from that because no, we haven't done this before. So how do you know how we do it? Like, this is a new product. So in building a team, I get someone that's willing to think outside the box. Someone that is willing to, that doesn't say, well, that's not my job.
Right.
That's someone with a teamwork attitude and thinking outside of the box would be, the two. And I like to pull people from different departments to give, I might not think the way my maintenance manager does. I'm thinking from a big picture and he's thinking just strictly equipment. So I like to pull him in, and then I like to pull in one of my foremans who manages his shift. I mean, he's a manager. So he's the one out there, 12 hours a day, 42 hours a week. So he sees stuff that I don't see. So I like to pull, I don't like to say, oh, well, I only want managers from each. I want a packer that's involved because they will get in the day-to-day packing and if this makes sense or not. So, I like to pull from every different position.
That makes a lot of sense to build
it just gives you more insight.
Yeah.
You get more insight, and it helps you understand where they're coming from.
And how long does it take for someone to get really good at your job, or how long did it take you?
I feel like I'm still learning 7 years later, but I think after a year, because a year is just taking it all in, learning your roles, and then I think you just have to be patient.
Patience is key, I think. Patience is key. And speaking about patience, can you kind of give me promotional path from like entry to the highest position you could possibly hold and the average time you spend at each level?
So for me, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I took a very non-traditional path towards being a plant manager and probably got it when I wasn't, I don't know if qualified is the right answer, but I started as a plant manager after a year and a half as regulatory. I do feel like that helped fast track me because in regulatory, like I said earlier, I had to learn every department, which as a plant manager, you need to know the ins and outs of everything, really. So I think that helped fast track me a little bit. But typical plant managers that I've met and encountered, they've been, they have had 10 years of experience.
Right.
Where I only had a year and a half. So
track that one.
yeah, I was tracked, but maybe 3 to 5
Okay.
for like maybe our size company.
Right.
For bigger companies, there'll probably be more time because it's more to learn. So,
Right. And so could you just kind of give the promotional operations plant, and then what's the highest level you can hold?
in the way our company is structured, the next step would really be the general manager.
Okay.
So I'm very, I'm technically number 3 in the company, but we are a small to mid, we're technically a mid-sized company, but we're a small mid-sized company. So we have 10 to 12 office employees, and 6 of those are salesmen.
What is the average salary? It can be a super broad range for someone at your level.
My range, that super broad, I would say anywhere from 100 to 200 and up.
Okay. Thank you. And then when people in your field move on, if they do, what kind of work do you think that they would go to next? And are there any themes, or can they just kind of like springboard into any plant manager role?
Honestly, I've met with the plant managers that I've met and actually become, close with.
Hmm.
A lot of have gone into a technical support role. So they go into a kind of like a technical consultant. So they kind
Okay.
of take a step back and they just focus on the technical aspect. They kind of take the people out of it. Is what I've
Right.
encountered.
So they
So
kind of take that step back and then just consult for any people that they
yeah,
want
like I know
freelance.
one guy, he just does testing. Like he just does plastics testing and is super knowledgeable, and but part of his
Yeah.
knowledge was because he was a plant manager for 20 years. So that's and then um another plant manager kind of went into sales that I know. Like they took a step back from
Right.
managing and they just wanted the relationships with customers. I think managers sets gives you a lot of good skills, and you can venture off into really wherever you want to go from there. You'll pick what, because you manage so many different things. I
Right.
think the next step would be, okay, I really enjoyed just doing this, so that's what I want to focus on.
Just kind of figuring out what you want to do after you get all this experience of managing people. It kind of allows you to find your niche.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I would, that's the best describe it.
Awesome. And then, um, what books, resources, programs, certificates, anything that you would recommend to someone wanting to get into a plant manager role?
I utilized industry, like our industry resources. A
Okay.
lot of suppliers that we know have trainings on resins and plastics and equipment, and I used industry resources. So anything that someone was willing to provide me to read, I read.
Okay.
I wouldn't say just one book. I would say through, say you're near trying to get experience, and you'll be surprised at how many people will send you links to, you
Right.
know, resources, and or even send you a book or say, hey, why don't you come to our facility and we'll show you, over here, and just that exposure, just be willing to take any provided to you.
Is there anything that you would not recommend of those resources, or is there anything that like if you see it come across your desk, you're like, I don't want to read that?
There's been my boss, he gave us an HR link, and it was, so I did it, but I don't recommend that. But he was really good, so he did it. So you just do it, but I,
Right.
I didn't gain much from it.
Got it. And kind of just wrapping up, what would you tell your younger self who was just getting into this profession? Any advice?
I would say it's okay to not know everything.
That is
So
great advice in
yeah,
anything that you do.
that that is number one advice to anybody. Be okay with not knowing everything. And there's a lot of power in saying that you don't know something, but you'll figure it out. And that's my biggest piece of advice.
The lifelong learning. Yeah.
It is. And, just I think a lot of people respect someone willing to say, I don't know, but I will get you an answer.
Yeah. And especially you manage a lot of people. So if someone were to come to you and say that, I'm sure that you gain their respect.
Yeah.
Or they gain your respect more so. But Erica, if people wanted to connect with you and are interested in learning more, where could they do that?
I have a LinkedIn now. I've ventured, and I don't use it a whole lot, but I am on it. So I'd say LinkedIn or Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining the Job Dictionary podcast. And it was so nice
Thank you
to
for
speak
having
with you
me
today. Yes, thank you.
You just got one episode closer to learning about the world of jobs out there. To explore the rest of our career categories and find your best fit, go to jobdictionary.com to sign up for the beta users waitlist. Then subscribe here to find the next episodes coming out this week. And as always, drop us a comment, review, or message to let us know how we can better attune our episodes to your specific needs. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Threads, Pinterest, and wherever else you're on socials to go get our short, snappy preview reels that expose you to new job options every day. Because here at Job Dictionary, we believe your big aha moment can be just one scroll away. Go check it out and get out there. Cheers!